August the 2nd, 216 BC. 86,000 Roman soldiers are about to die in a single afternoon. Not in a siege, not over months of attrition. In 6 hours, on an open field, at a place called Cannae. This is the largest army Rome has ever fielded. Double consuls, 8 full legions, the entire military power of the Republic concentrated in one force. Their enemy? Hannibal Barca, with half the troops and no way home. The Romans outnumber him 2-1. They have every advantage except one. They don't know they're walking into a perfect trap. By sunset, 70,000 Romans will be dead. 10,000 will wish they were. And the ones who survive? Rome will make sure they regret it. Every history video tells you about the battle, the double envelopment, the cavalry charge, the moment the circle closes. But no one tells you what happens after the circle closes. What happens to the men who didn't die on the field? What happens in the camps the next morning? What Rome does to its own survivors? Because Cannae doesn't end when the fighting stops. The true ending? It's worse than the battle itself. This is the story of Rome's biggest army, and the men Rome abandoned after it fell. The impossible setup. The plain at Cannae sits in southern Italy, flat and baked hard by August sun. Perfect cavalry ground. Perfect killing ground. Hannibal chose it on purpose. For 2 years, this Carthaginian general has been doing the impossible. He marched elephants over the Alps. He destroyed 2 Roman armies in ambushes at Trebia and Lake Trasimene. He's wandering through Italy like a wolf in a sheep pen, and Rome cannot stop him. So Rome decides to end it with overwhelming force. They raise the largest army in Roman history, 8 full legions, 80,000 infantry, 6,000 cavalry, 2 consuls commanding together, Gaius Terentius Varro and Lucius Aemilius Paulus, because one man shouldn't hold this much power. The plan is simple. Find Hannibal, crush him with numbers, go home. Here's where it gets strange. Hannibal has 40,000 infantry, 10,000 cavalry. He's cut off from Carthage, no reinforcements coming, supplies running thin. By every calculation that matters, he should lose. This should be the moment Rome wins the Second Punic War, but Hannibal isn't calculating the same equation. The trap no one sees, August 2nd dawn. The armies form up on that flat, open plain. Romans on one side, Carthaginians on the other, and right here, before a single sword swings, Hannibal has already won. Watch his formation. The Roman deployment is traditional, a massive battering ram of heavy infantry, packed deep, designed to smash through anything in front of it. Depth equals power. More men pushing means more momentum. This is how Rome fights. This is how Rome wins. Hannibal's formation looks wrong. His center bulges forward toward the Romans, Spaniards and Celts, wild-haired warriors with long swords and loud war cries. His flanks curve back, held, in reserve. African veterans in captured Roman armor, standing perfectly still. The shape is a shallow crescent, convex toward the enemy. If you're a Roman commander looking across that field, you see weakness. You see a center begging to be broken. You see the obvious path to victory. You don't see the trap. Stay with me. The killing. The Roman infantry advances. 80,000 men moving forward like a tidal wave of iron and muscle. The ground shakes. The noise is deafening. Battle cries, tramping feet, the crash of weapons on shields. They slam into Hannibal's forward bulging center. The Spaniards and Celts buckle. They give ground. Step by step, the center bends backward, collapsing inward like a bow being drawn. Roman officers scream in triumph. They're winning. They're pushing the enemy back. Every instinct says, press harder, push deeper, break them now. So they do. The Roman mass surges forward into the retreating center. Ranks compress. The formation narrows as men crowd into the gap. They're funneling themselves into a tighter and tighter space, and they don't even notice. Hannibal's African flanks haven't moved. They're still standing there, curving back on both sides, watching, waiting. The center bends almost to breaking. The crescent that bulged toward Rome now curves the other way. Concave, cupping the Roman mass like two hands closing around a throat. This is the moment. Hannibal gives the signal. The African infantry wheels inward. Both flanks pivot 90 degrees and slam into the Roman sides. Thousands of fresh troops in Roman armor, taken from the dead at Trebia and Trasimena, now driving spears into Roman ribs. The Romans are suddenly fighting on three sides. And here's the thing about being packed tight in a crowd. You can't turn, you can't maneuver, you can't even swing your sword properly because there's no room. The very depth that was supposed to give Rome its power now becomes a death sentence. Men in the center can't see what's happening. They just feel the pressure increasing, the crowd crushing tighter, the screaming getting louder. Watch what happens next. While the infantry trap closes, Hannibal's cavalry has been busy. On both wings, Carthaginian horsemen smash into the Roman cavalry and destroy it. This isn't a fight, it's an execution. The Roman cavalry shatters and flees. Survivors scatter in every direction. Now, Hasdrubal, Hannibal's cavalry commander, remember this name, does something that military academies still teach today. He doesn't chase the fleeing Romans. He doesn't pursue easy kills across the countryside. He wheels his entire cavalry force around and rides behind the Roman infantry. The circle closes. 80,000 Romans now stand in a ring of death. Africans on the left, Africans on the right, Spaniards and Celts in front, cavalry behind, nowhere to run, nowhere to retreat, no way out. 6 hours of dying. What happens next isn't a battle, it's a massacre. The Romans can't break out. They can't surrender effectively. There's no organized way to lay down arms when you're packed like cattle. They can't even die efficiently. For 6 hours, Hannibal's army kills. Polybius, the ancient historian who interviewed survivors, puts the Roman dead at 70,000. 70,000 men killed in a single afternoon. That's roughly 120 deaths per minute. 2 men every second, for 6 hours. The cavalry survivors number in the dozens, maybe a few hundred. Infantry who escape? Around 3,000 manage to slip out and flee to the nearby town of Canusium. This is the story everyone knows. The perfect battle, the double envelopment, the tactical masterpiece that military officers still study 2,000 years later. But this is not the ending. The true ending, the second defeat. Here's what the history videos don't tell you. When the battle started, 10,000 Romans weren't even on the field. Rome left them back in 2 fortified camps with a plan. While Hannibal's army fights, raid his baggage train, steal his supplies, hit him where it hurts, the plan fails. Hannibal wins too fast. Now those 10,000 men are trapped. 2 camps full of Roman soldiers surrounded by a victorious Carthaginian army, watching smoke rise from the plain where their comrades died. Think about that. You're a Roman soldier in that camp. You heard the battle. You heard it go quiet. Now Hannibal's cavalry is circling your walls, and you know that 80,000 men just vanished. The day after Cannae, Hannibal finishes the job. He attacks the smaller camp first, cuts off the water supply, offers terms, surrender and be ransomed back to Rome. Standard practice in ancient warfare, civilized even. The smaller camp surrenders. Thousands of men lay down their arms without a fight. The larger camp tries to escape under cover of darkness. Some make it to Canusium, joining the 3,000 who fled the battle. Most don't. By the time Hannibal is finished, he's captured roughly 10,000 Romans. Most of them never swung a sword at Cannae. They lost the battle from behind walls, watching. Hannibal has cleared the map. Every Roman piece removed. Now comes his gambit, the ransom. Hannibal doesn't want to feed 10,000 prisoners. He doesn't want to guard them, house them, or watch them. What he wants is leverage. So he offers Rome a deal. Send money. Get your men back. The price isn't even outrageous. Hannibal wants political capital more than gold. He wants Rome to negotiate. He wants Rome to bend. He sends a delegation to the Senate with terms. Roman prisoners themselves carry the message. Pay the ransom, bring us home. Rome's Senate debates. Stay with me. This is where the story turns. The Senate votes no, not because Rome can't afford it. Rome can afford it. Not because the terms are unreasonable. They're not. Rome refuses because of what saying yes would mean. Think like a Roman senator for a moment. Cannae just killed 70,000 of your soldiers. Your allies are watching. Your enemies are watching. Every city in Italy is asking the same question. Is Rome finished? If you pay the ransom, you're admitting defeat. You're telling your own army that surrender is an option. You're telling Hannibal that Rome can be bargained with. So Rome sends a message instead. To its soldiers, if you lose, we will not save you. To its allies, we do not negotiate from weakness. To Hannibal, you cannot break us, not with victory, not with mercy, not with anything. The prisoners are abandoned. 10,000 Roman citizens sold into slavery because Rome decided their lives were worth less than its reputation. Hannibal got his perfect battle. Rome gave him a perfect answer. The survivors' shame. Now, the men who actually escaped. The 3,000 who fled the field. The survivors from the larger camp who made it to Canusium in the dark. You'd think Rome would welcome them. Lucky survivors. Living witnesses. Men who could train the next army, share what they learned, help Rome fight back. Instead, Rome punishes them. The survivors are formed into 2 legions, the legions Cannenses, the legions of Cannae. The name itself is a brand, a mark of shame. They're shipped to Sicily, not to defend it, not to launch a counterattack, to rot. Livy, the Roman historian, is explicit. The survivors of the army of Cannae were sent to Sicily and were not to return before the end of the war. These men are denied missio, the right to discharge. They cannot go home. They cannot retire. They cannot leave. For 12 years they serve in exile, forbidden from setting foot in Italy. Here's where it gets dark. Rome's logic is brutal but clear. 70,000 men died at Cannae. You survived. How? Why? The only explanation Rome will accept. You ran. You're a coward. You don't deserve to come home. Guilt by survival. Rome weaponizes shame to send a message to every other army in the field. Fight to the death. Win or die, because if you survive a catastrophic defeat, we will make you wish you hadn't. The men who lived through Rome's worst day paid a higher price than the men who died. Redemption in blood. Fast forward 10 years. A young Roman general named Scipio takes command in Sicily. He's preparing an invasion of Africa, a bold strike at Carthage itself, the war brought to Hannibal's doorstep. He needs troops, the legions Rome gives him, the legions Cannenses, the exiled, the shamed, the men who have spent a decade rotting on an island, marked as cowards. Scipio trains them, rebuilds them, trusts them, and in 202 BC at the Battle of Zama, those survivors helped destroy Hannibal's army. The men who lived through Rome's greatest defeat deliver Rome's greatest victory. But here's the thing. Rome never officially forgave them. No triumph, no pardon, no apology. They earned redemption in blood, not in law. The stain of Cannae followed them to their graves. 70,000 died on the field. 10,000 were abandoned to slavery. The survivors were exiled for 12 years, then sent to win the war Rome blamed them for losing. That's the true ending of Cannae. But we're not done, because there's still one question left. Why Hannibal didn't end it, Maharbal's curse. The night after Cannae, Hannibal's officers celebrate. Wine flows. Men laugh. They've just achieved the impossible, destroyed the largest army Rome has ever built. One man isn't celebrating. Hannibal, the cavalry commander, the man whose horsemen closed the circle and turned victory into annihilation. He pushes through the crowd to Hannibal's tent with one demand: march on Rome. Now. Give me the cavalry, Hannibal says. In 5 days you will dine in the capital. 5 days to end the war. 5 days to finish the Republic. Rome's walls are 30 miles away, and there's no army left to defend them. Hannibal refuses. The march is too risky. His army is exhausted. He has no siege equipment. Rome's walls have never been breached. A failed assault would undo everything he's just won. Hannibal's response echoes across 2,000 years. You know how to win a victory, Hannibal, but you do not know how to use one. Stay with me. The bet that failed. Hannibal wasn't trying to conquer Rome, not directly. His strategy was never about taking the city. It was about breaking the system. Rome's power comes from its alliances. Hundreds of Italian cities bound to Rome by treaty, providing soldiers, taxes, loyalty. Hannibal's plan: win battles so devastating that those allies lose faith, make them defect, isolate Rome, let the Republic collapse from within. Cannae was supposed to trigger the avalanche. Some cities do defect. Capua, the second largest city in Italy, opens its gates to Hannibal. Other southern towns follow. The cracks appear. But Rome's core holds. The Latin allies, Rome's oldest partners, don't waver. They look at Cannae and choose to keep fighting. Not because they think Rome will win, because they're more afraid of what happens if Rome loses and remembers who abandoned them. And here's the thing about Rome. Cannae killed 1/5 of Rome's military-age male citizens. 1 in 5. Any other nation would surrender. Any other nation would negotiate. Rome lowers the draft age. Rome enlists criminals. Rome arms slaves. Rome just keeps raising armies. Hannibal won the perfect tactical victory. But Rome won the war by refusing to admit the war was over. The dark logic. Now you understand. The ransom refusal, the Sicilian exile, the 12 years of shame. None of it was cruelty for cruelty's sake. It was strategy. Rome looked at Cannae and saw a choice: accept defeat, negotiate, behave like a normal nation, and watch the alliance system crumble. Or reject defeat absolutely, punish even survival, make it clear that Rome would rather destroy itself than bend. They chose the second option. The abandoned prisoners sent a message to Hannibal: mercy won't work on us. The exiled survivors sent a message to every Roman soldier: there is no acceptable outcome except victory. The legions of Cannae, rotting in Sicily, were a warning written in human lives. Rome weaponized its own defeat, turned catastrophe into doctrine, made Cannae the foundation of a strategic culture that would conquer the Mediterranean. Never surrender, never negotiate, never stop. The butcher's bill. 3 fates. That's what Cannae offered. The 70,000 dead on the field. Remembered, at least. Honored as martyrs. They died with swords in their hands, and Rome built their legend. The 10,000 captured, abandoned, sold into slavery by Hannibal when Rome refused to pay, their names forgotten. Their families left waiting for men who never came home. The survivors, punished, exiled for 12 years, brought back only when Rome needed bodies for Scipio's invasion. They won the war and still died in disgrace. 70,000, 10,000, 3,000. The men who died paid with their lives. The men who survived paid with everything else. The lesson Rome learned. Cannae taught Rome that defeat was unacceptable, that survival was suspicious, that the only way to win was to make losing unthinkable. It worked. Rome never lost another battle like Cannae. For the next 600 years, Roman armies would fight with the knowledge that surrender meant shame. that retreat meant exile, that the only acceptable outcome was victory or death. The Republic became an empire. The empire conquered the known world. And the price? Ask the legiones Cannenses. Ask the men who spent 12 years on Sicily, forbidden from coming home. Ask the ones who finally sailed to Africa, fought at Zama, watched Hannibal's army break, and still never received a pardon. The final image. August 2nd, 216 BC. The plain at Cannae. 70,000 Romans dead in 6 hours. The largest army the Republic has ever built, destroyed in a single afternoon. Everyone remembers the battle, the double envelopment, the tactical perfection, the moment the circle closed. No one remembers what came after. The prisoners Rome abandoned, the survivors Rome exiled, the 12 years of shame. 86,000 men marched onto that field. The ones who died became legends. The ones who lived became warnings. And Rome? Rome became unstoppable because after Cannae, Rome decided something. If you survive when you were supposed to die, Rome will never forgive you for it.